Actress Rachel Zegler is back in the news, and she's creating a ton of controversy. No, it's not because of Snow White. She's not on another horrendous PR tour where she's talking about how much she hates the film. Now we're talking about the election. Like many other celebrities after this election, she decided to make her personal politics known. She wanted to launch an attack on not only Donald Trump, but also his supporters, and she did so publicly on her Instagram story. Today we're going to read the statement and react. Let's talk about it.
Picture a Broadway actress who issued a post saying, F Biden supporters. May Biden or Kamala never have a moment's peace. That person would be fired so fast it would make your head spin. They wouldn't last one more minute in any Hollywood role. This is truly like, she has to go. I'm sorry, Disney. She has to go. And you're going to put out a Disney film with Snow White, a beloved American character, with a woman who hates more than half the country, the half that just elected Donald Trump. This is an incredible pivot point right now. We'll see which way the woke Disney decides to go.
Guys, before we get into today's video, please like and subscribe. Yes, we are once again talking about Rachel Zegler. Now I'll give you a little bit of a refresher on her controversy. She was cast as Snow White, which doesn't really make sense because she isn't Snow White. In the wake of being cast as Snow White, she went on a PR tour where she essentially said she hated the movie. It wasn't feminist enough, and this version of Snow White involved a girl boss who wasn't being saved by a prince. She said things like this.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that
she's not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
She also said this at one place.
The cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman is fit for in the world.
Remember Disney's new Snow White?
It's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power. She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
She's like the anti-advertisement spokesperson, really putting that Disney marketing budget to work. Rachel Zegler recently shared some strong opinions about Trump voters. May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace. Is it just me, or is the evil queen starting to look like she was trying to do us all a favor? Her motives are starting to feel pretty relatable.
Please like, comment, and subscribe.
Now that we're refreshed, it's very interesting that we got that bit of controversy from Rachel Zegler, because it really segues into what she's experiencing now. She decided to once again make her personal politics known in a much more direct, shall we say, aggressive way on her Instagram story, talking about her feelings about the election. We're going to get straight into it and read it. Many of you, I don't even want to say the word shocked. I was going to say you'd be shocked. But with how celebrities in Hollywood are going these days, you're not going to be shocked at all. But let's hear from Rachel Zegler. She says, I find myself speechless in the midst of this. This has been a statement we've been getting from a lot of celebrities and entertainers. They find themselves so speechless, yet immediately find more words to say, and they're words that are consistently attacking the people who made them famous. But I digress. Let's go on. She says, another 4 years of hatred, leaning us towards a world I do not want to live in. Leaning us towards a world that will be hard to raise my daughter in. Leaning us towards a world that will force her to have a baby she doesn't want. Leaning us towards a world that is fearful. First of all, Rachel, we do not assume the gender of our children. They pick it. But if you do in fact have a daughter, why is the immediate assumption that she's going to have a baby she doesn't want? That's a little strange. And of course, I've given my thoughts at length on abortion. I don't take a particularly staunch stance on the issue, but the reality is, for most people, And, I'd guess for Rachel Zegler, their access to abortion is not changing. It is not a Trump stance to put a national ban on abortion. So I don't know where people, and women in particular, are getting this idea that an election of Donald Trump means the stripping away of their rights to kill their children. But let's keep reading. I shouldn't be this shocked, but I am. I'm heartbroken for my friends who awoke in fear this morning, and I am here with you to cry, to yell, to hug, to wax poetic on how the left continues to fail us in forging a new path forward. This loss should not have been, and it certainly should not have been by so many votes. I can agree with at least one sentiment in that paragraph. Here. The left really does need to do an autopsy, a post-mortem on this election to really identify why they lost. But she goes on in this statement to really ridicule and attack Republicans and conservatives, which I'll tell you is part of why you lost. In the consistent coverage we've done of this election and the left's reaction to it, we find consistently that they have not learned their lesson. And this is yet another example. But let's let Rachel continue. She says, I echo Ethel Kane's statement more than anything. May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace. First of all, let's dive into Ethel Kane's many statements about Donald Trump. Ethel Kane has been particularly aggressive in her statements towards Donald Trump, even saying after his attempted assassination that she would not have missed. So I do have to wonder which of Ethel Kane's statements Rachel is trying to echo in this post on Instagram. She goes on to say that Trump voters and Trump supporters and Trump himself should never know peace. This is, of course, coming from the party of tolerance, unity, and peace. Yes, the party of tolerance and unity is wishing hell on the people that live among them, people they disagree with. Does that make sense to you? And I know we're in this day and age of woke activism, where statements like this don't really hit as they should. But this is a pretty egregious thing to say to about half of the population at this point, a population that was responsible for winning both the popular vote and the Electoral College in this last election. I have to remind everybody in regard to her Disney career. We watched Gina Carano, a Disney actor who happened to be conservative, get fired from working on a Disney project, specifically The Mandalorian, after making controversial political posts on the internet. One specifically where she likened the censorship and persecution that conservatives were experiencing here in the United States to what Jews were experiencing in Nazi Germany. Now, whether you agree with that comparison or not doesn't matter. What matters is that she was fired for that comparison. She went on to launch a lawsuit against Disney and Lucasfilm because of what happened to her. But you don't see any of that energy coming towards Rachel Zegler, even though she specifically said that she wants half of the country to never know peace, which is far worse than what Gina Carano posted. If I had to guess, there will be no punitive measures taken against Rachel Zegler for this post online, because you're allowed to hate on conservatives in this way, as long as you are stating a political opinion that is shared by the elite in our society, those that run Hollywood and entertainment. This is acceptable. I have to point out the obvious. How many conservatives do you hear saying that leftists should never know peace? That they want their lives ruined for supporting somebody like Kamala Harris? Or for having their ideology? In fact, you hear the exact opposite on the conservative end of the spectrum. Conservatives are fighting for freedom of speech and individual rights for everybody, regardless of what you believe, so that you can share your opinions and, hopefully, share them in a pluralistic society where people don't have to necessarily accept them, but can contend with them in a respectful way. Saying that people should never know peace isn't exactly respectful. But what do we expect from Rachel Zegler? Let's quickly read some more of her post before we respond further. There is also a deep, deep sickness in this country that is shown in the sheer amount of people who showed up for this man who threatens democracy. It is terrifying, the number of people who stand behind what this man preaches. It is a foolish subscription to a false sense of security, of masculinity, of intelligence, of patriotism, and of humanity. There is no help, no counsel in any of them. I could go on. I won't. I feel sad. You probably do too. We can disregard the typical TDS, Trump derangement syndrome statements that she's making about Donald Trump and his masculinity and his patriotism. Again, it's why the left lost this last election. What I want to focus on is the fact that she says, there is no help, no counsel in any of them. What she's essentially saying is that these people should be left to rot, that they are ideologues who are free from any sort of absolution or understanding of leftist ideology, that they shouldn't be talked to in any type of way to, I don't know, relate to them in society. She is saying there is no way to coexist, no common ground, no mutual understanding, or an umbrella that we can all stand under with our different ideologies. There is no help, no counsel in any of them. Now, we are so used to this language that I don't know that we understand how radical it is to say a statement like this. Not only that people should never know peace, but that there is no way to counsel them or coexist with them. These are extreme statements. But we all know that's what leftists deal out to people every single time they analyze an issue, make a problem out of it, and then give you the most radical prescription as to how to solve it. They think gender being binary is a problem, so kids should be able to transition. They think anybody should be able to move freely through the world and live wherever they want, so why not open the border? They think black people and people of color were wronged in American history, so why not flip it around and discriminate against those who wronged them in the past? Radical issue. Radical solution. If we even want to call it that. Rachel Zegler has clearly identified an issue that she disagrees with. A significant amount of the population that lives alongside her. Her radical solution is to make sure they never know peace, and that they are left and discarded in the wake of what's happened in this election. She goes on to tell her followers to leave Elon's app because of his influence in this election, which, whatever. We live in a society where you can choose to do that. If you don't want to be somewhere, you don't have to be there. So that's fine. She closes out by saying, okay, that's all. Going on stage for Act 2 now, and need to get off my soapbox before I get too heated. Sending love to everyone who needs it today. May we all carry each other through the worst, and hold these politicians accountable. Your DGVS just got very important. They already were, but hey, follow your governors. Hold them accountable. Local government is where we will make real change. This is not the end, ever. I will love through these 4 years as best I can. There you have it. Your statement from actress Rachel Zegler, who's been cast as Snow White, the fairest of them all. If the irony is not hitting for you now, I don't know when it will. This is typical of Hollywood entertainment. We've covered on this channel the many celebrity meltdowns that have happened in the wake of this election, and it just goes to show you how toxic Hollywood and entertainment actually are. They are the ideologues, although they accuse us of being them. They are the ones who don't want to be challenged, who don't want dissident opinions, who think that if you disagree with them, you should essentially rot away and be cast aside to live in your own society separate from theirs. Yet, they're tolerant. Yet they're peaceful. Yet they're loving. She's going to do her best to love over these next 4 years, unless you are the one who's responsible for her having to live under a Trump administration for the next 4 years. I'm going to make a bet right now. I don't think Rachel's life is going to change all that much over the next 4 years. I think she's going to continue to be successful. I think she's going to continue to have access to all the things she's had before. In fact, I think her life is going to get a lot better, although she won't be willing to acknowledge that. But if I can say anything to the people who may be fans of hers, who may be supporting her after she has launched this attack on you, maybe don't. It's one thing to support celebrities who have dissident views to yours, which we do all the time, and if we didn't, we'd never be able to consume another piece of entertainment again. But it's a whole other beast to deal with somebody who is actively telling you straight to your face that they hate you. And more importantly, I guess, she says, you. So, that's interesting. Again, the fairest of them all. I have to emphasize that. And that concludes today's discussion on MGTOW voice. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated on future videos. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next video.